Mississippi House of Representatives is now in session. Please let the House come to order. Please stand as we're led in prayer today by a guest to be introduced by the gentleman from Pike and remain standing thereafter for the pledge.
Ladies and gentlemen of the House, it gives me great pleasure to welcome a good friend of mine, Pastor Chad Williams, and his lovely wife, Mrs. Williams, pastor of Pleasant Springs Missionary Baptist Church located in Magnolia, Mississippi.
Good evening. Before I pray, I just want to give one little short scripture that comes from 1 Timothy 2nd chapter. It says, I exhort thee, therefore, that first of all, supplications, prayers, intercessions, and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings, and for all that are in authority, that we may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we come humble unto you now. And Father, we come asking, oh God, that you will look down upon us this day with these House of Representatives, God, and bless our minds. Praying, God, that you will take hold in every thought, every mind process that is going through the heads of your people that are governing over our city, our state. And we're praying, God, that all things will be well. Lord, we thank you right now because we realize, God, that we couldn't do nothing without you. So therefore, Lord, we ask that you grace this place. Guide our minds, guide our hearts. Let all things be done decent and in order. We'll continue to give your name all glory, all honor, and all praise. We ask these and many blessings in your Son Jesus' name. And we all say amen, amen, amen.
Before I do the pledge, I know inquiring minds want to know, no, he's not my brother. He just knows how to keep a close shave and a nice beard. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Close the machine, Madam Clerk.
There's a quorum present, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. We'll have the reading of the journal. Gentleman from Rankin moves we dispense with the reading of the journal. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board of Select Committee.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Board of Standing Committee.
We have reports on the calendar, Mr. Speaker.
Introductions of bills and constitutional amendments. Gentleman from Harrison, Mr. Haney.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I ask unanimous consent to dispense the reading of the introduction.
Your objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Resolution, petitions, memorials, and other papers.
We have none, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. This time we'll have the introductions of guests and visitors. Lady from Forest, Ms. McGee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is my privilege to have the doctor of the day once again today from my district. Today we have with us Dr. John Godet, who is a pediatrician by training, but he has recently retired from that post and is currently a professor of medicine at William Carey University School of Medicine. So would you please welcome him back for his service to us today?
Thank you, Doctor. We appreciate your service. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Eubank.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, if you'll look to the North Gallery, we've got some folks here today. If you look also on your desk, you've got a packet from the Convention of States organization of all the supporters in your specific district that support the movement. But our new state directors are John Armstrong and Linda Davis. If you'll wave your hands, and you guys make them feel welcome here in their capital.
Gentleman from the floor, Mr. Osborne.
Speaker, introduction. In the North and South Gallery, we have the youth councils from Greenwood High, Amanda Elza High, and LaFleur High. Will you help me make them welcome?
All right, I don't see any further introductions at this time. I'm informed we have a special guest today. So I'm going to introduce Chairman of Rules, gentleman from Activity Hall, and ask the Sergeant at Arms to escort our special guest to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Mississippi Horse Park has been a vital economic development tool that my area has used for years. And this young lady has taken a horse park and turned it into something that frankly, I couldn't have imagined. She's actually been able to take this and get national awards. This past year, 2022, we had one of the biggest awards that you get in the rodeo circuit. And there's like 70 rodeos across the nation that apply or try to get this award. The Justin Boots Best Footing Award is given to a rodeo that has the best accommodations, things that in the dirt and the things that really are important to rodeos. I'm really excited to have Brickley Miller here. She's taken what generally speaking would be a very plain rodeo farm type atmosphere and turned it into one of the most exciting things that we can do. So here, she accepted that award. We have a resolution, easy for me to say, resolution today honoring her for this and honoring the horse park. So please welcome Brickley Miller and show you how much you appreciate her.
Recognize Chairman of Rules.
I need to have a quick rules meeting right now.
Rules meeting right now. All right, we will go to the calendar. Motion to reconsider passes. Rules passes. Laid on the table calendar. Yes, sir. Gentleman from Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to laid on table and pull up Senate Bill 2839.
Gentleman calls the bill off the table. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay. Ayes have it. The bill is back before the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As we discussed yesterday, and we had several questions on it, and I went back and did some more research, spoke with council. This bill does not give the municipalities any more authority than they already do in any situation. This is the PID bill we were talking about yesterday, trying to get it to where a municipality can go on a property owned by the PID or private property owners to correct drainage problem or something that's for the public good. Does not give them any extra authority than they already have as a municipality in any situation. So I would entertain any questions, or if no questions, I move final passage.
Any questions? There's one. Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to make sure we're not giving a board authority to give them eminent domain,
That's
correct?
correct. Yes, sir. Well, the municipality board already has that authority, so we're not extending,
Correct.
we're not extending their authority in any way, form, or fashion.
Correct. And we understand those guys are elected officials.
Yes,
So, you know, that's where those decisions should be made.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make sure that there's not a unelected board in there.
No, sir, it is not.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. The question occurs on Senate Bill 2839. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. They voted 111 yeas and 4 nays. The bill passes. The only other item is elections. Passes. Moves to the general calendar. Public property.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to go to item number 1 on the calendar today, Senate Bill 2203, and adopt a strike all.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman from Rankin, Mr. Newman, will explain the strike all.
Gentleman from Rankin.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. 2203 is the same bill that we passed earlier in the House. The strike all, what this is doing is dividing the land out at Whitfield area where you got the prison, you got the state hospital, and all those different state agencies have operations out there. That land has never been divided out so that each state agency is designated a specific area. This is what this bill is doing. What the amendment is doing is authorizing DFA to put in water meters so that they can meter the water and sewage going to the area so they can be properly allocated. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Question. I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a strike all. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2203. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. I vote 111 yeas, 0 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to go to item number 2, Senate Bill 2309, and the gentleman from Hines, Mr. Crudup, will explain item number 2 and item number 4, Senate Bill 2703.
The chairman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Hines, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2309, it's just a companion bill to House Bill 874 that we passed earlier in the session. This bill just provides some clarifying language to some of the legislation that was originally adopted in 2014, which authorized the Department of Archives and History to transfer certain state-owned property in Claiborne County. And that's the explanation of the strike items.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine. Oh, excuse me. In favor of the strike call, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2309. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. They vote 109 yeas and 5 nays. The bill passes. Jim from Lee, Mr. Aguirre, you have an introduction. You're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the South Gallery, we have some visitors from Tupelo. We have Mr. Jai Este and his son Nathan, and also William Burrow with them. Nathan and William are paging in the Senate. Please make them welcome.
Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to call up Senate Bill 2723.
Aye. Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules to be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
And we have a strike all for this one as well.
Recognized for the strike off.
Senate Bill 2723 is also a companion bill to House Bill 423. And this bill here simply authorizes DFA to purchase the old First Christian Church located on the corner of High Street and State Streets right here in the city of Jackson. And that's the explanation of the strike off.
Question? I don't see any. If you're in favor of the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2723. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 108 yeas, 9 nays, bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We'd like to go to item 3, Senate Bill number 2722, and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Senate Bill 2722 authorizes DFA to purchase the property known as the North 40. It's located within the Capitol complex, and it contains approximately 1.5 acres with paved parking and fencing. It's on Lamar Street, immediately west of the former Wright and Ferguson Funeral Home. The real property and improvements in this bill shall not be purchased for an amount greater than the current fair market value as determined by the average of 2 appraisals by qualified appraisers. If there's no questions, Mr. Speaker, I move final passage.
Any question? Gentleman. Okay, I don't see any questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2722. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 109 yeas, 7 nays, bill passes. Next item, public health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 5, Senate Bill 2622. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We do have a strike on.
You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is a consumer-friendly bill, and I know, like y'all, it's good to finally have a piece of legislation that really helps the citizens of Mississippi. So if you remember, this is a prior authorization reform act, and if you remember last year, a lot of talk about the gold card legislation that would mandate insurance companies deny or approve PAs. This is not in the bill at all. There's no gold card legislation. There's no mandate for insurance companies to approve or deny anything. What this does is simply January 1st, 2024, the insurance companies must put on a website, a portal, the PA forms and what the prior authorizations are for. That's all it does. And then by January 1, 2026, all providers must apply for PAs through the internet portal. So that is simply all it does. For urgent PA approvals, the insurance companies have 24 hours that they have to respond, which makes perfect sense. If something is very urgent, we need to have that answer back. And for non-urgent reforms for PAs, it's 48 hours or 2 working days. So that is the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker. And just for your purposes, it did pass the Senate 49-0. And so that is an explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? Gentleman Tissue Mingo, Mr. Carpenter.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So for clearance, you and I talked about this today quite a bit.
Yes, sir.
You will assure me that the Department of Health is well trained and ready to take over this?
Absolutely. I spoke with them many times. I spoke with them after you and I spoke. I had another conversation with them, and crystal clear. Yes, sir.
All right. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Lady from Pearl River, Ms. Wilkes.
Thank you. Gentlemen, will you yield?
Yes, ma'am.
Will this cause insurance companies to pay out-of-network rates?
No, ma'am, this is not just that issue at all. This is simply having the website for a portal so you can look at what the PAs are for.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, strike off. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2622. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 108 yeas, 5 nays, the Bill passes. Jim from Washington, Mr. Hines, what purpose do you seek recognition?
Introduction, Mr. Speaker.
You recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, will you please help make welcome a group of individuals who are visiting here in the North and South Gallery? They are the Communication Workers of America and the AFL-CIO. Please help them feel welcome at their capital.
Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to pass the remaining public health bills, but I ask that they retain this place on the calendar.
Any objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Brings us to item 12, forestry. Passes. Item 13, judiciary A.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to go to item number 13, Senate Bill number 2090. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross red the third time placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, please recognize the gentleman from Tallahatchie to present the strike all.
Gentleman from Tallahatchie.
Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, what this bill is an update on our current funeral services law, and has been recommended to us. And let me go through the changes. Right now, you can apply for a funeral director's license. You're 18, high school diploma, served as the resident trainee. The bill changes the a resident trainee under a supervised licensed funeral service director, and you have to pass the test. You must serve 24 months now. This would, on line 57, that would be changed to 12 months. In addition, on section 2, the present law allows a funeral service trainee, there's an apprenticeship program. It has to be completed under present law within no less than 12 months and no more than 30 months. This would change it to 12 months and 18 months respectively. Also, section 3 brings forward a code section. Section 4 would be a new law, a new code section, lines 540. No person shall engage in any activity in which a license is required under this chapter without holding a license. In other words, you can't advertise to be a funeral director or a certified crematory operator unless you are one. And there would be allowed to be a fine imposed if you violated that. This is section 5, I think is important, line 611. It allows Mississippi residents shall have the right to direct their own disposition, what happens to you at your death, without interference from others, regardless of the relationship. And the right of self-authorization may be executed through the use of a self-directed disposition authorization document. That would even supersede the next of kin. In other words, it'd give you the right to make your own choice of disposition of your body. And well, in a practical matter, you would solve there wouldn't be a fight of the family because you'd be the one to say what you wanted to happen to your remains. Under line 632, there is a a priority if you, let's say that you've not determined how your remains are going to be, what's going to happen to your body. Then there is right now a list of individuals in descending order who get to decide. First would be the surviving spouse, if you have any. Then the present law says it would be a surviving child, age 18 and other. What this law would say would change from a surviving child to a majority of the surviving children, so that there would be more, a bigger opportunity for all the children to participate, and there would be a majority would rule on that disposition. Now, the next authorization, next section 6, it seems to be obvious to me, but it's probably not obvious to some folks. This says if you're responsible for another person's death, you can't make his burial arrangements. Okay, that's all. Move passage.
We do have a question, gentlemen, from Montgomery, Mr. Oliver. You want to speak on the bill?
No.
Question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, yield.
I do.
Friendly question. I know where you're going with the bill, and I'm not opposed to it. I think it's good legislation. My concern is the how much cover does this give the funeral service professionals when they're actually carrying out a desire of the decedent as opposed to the legal next of kin? That's my concern.
If they have signed the authorized document, you're covered. If you've got a decedent that has executed the authorized document, then you would be covered. And let me say, I was going to say, gentlemen, also, I think that if you sign the authorized document, you are covered.
Now, you say the authorized document, this would be the person making arrangements, let's hypothetically say for himself or herself.
Yes, that would be the person. You know, like they come in and they get a pre-needs, and then you're going to say, well, they say they want X, Y, and Z, and they want it at a particular price, and then they get to have it, they get to have it. If you come in and make your pre-arrangement, I'm not doing a sales job for it, you get what you pay for, and it's done at a particular price. And normally at that time, they could, with this, execute the disposition document, and so they would have, you'd pay for it if you wanted to, and you'd say what happens with your remains all at one whop.
Thank you. One last question. Currently, that form that you're referring to doesn't exist. Now, who's going to create?
The Funeral Services Board will be doing that.
Funeral Service Board will create that.
Yes,
Thank you, gentlemen.
Move passage.
Do you yield for any further question?
I will.
You talked long enough. We got about 10 questions.
All right, now I can't do anything about it.
Jim from Hines, Mr. Brown. Okay.
My wife needs to be up here rather than me.
Excuse me, gentlemen. Time has expired on the strike all. We need to vote on the strike all. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Now we're back on the bill. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Yield,
Yes.
I didn't hear anything about incompetence, Alzheimer and all that kind of stuff. What if the person is not able to make a determination from a mental state?
Well, then.
I didn't hear that in it. I hope it is in it.
Well, they can't do it if they don't have the mentation to do it. They can't do it. They're not going to be allowed to do that.
What do you mean?
Look.
If a person, you said that.
No. If the individual is not competent to do any action, they're not going to be allowed to do it.
Well, I thought the bill called for them doing it themselves, and
Yes,
nobody
sir.
else can do it for them.
That's right. It does call for them to do it themselves, and they're allowed to do it themselves. But if somebody comes up to a funeral home and doesn't know the east from the west, then they're not going to be allowed to execute any binding legal document. If they are compos mentis, then they can execute the document.
Is that clause in the bill then? Will it be?
That's the way it works, gentlemen.
All right. I didn't hear you mention it earlier.
It's really a dead issue.
It's a dead issue. It really gives you rights over your own bodies, what it does.
Jim from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Gentlemen, if you would be so kind. I saw something here about going to Chancery Court for a $5,000 bond. What is that about? I'm just trying to read this bill.
Give me the line that there is, gentlemen, if they, that's where they enforce if somebody's advertising that they're a funeral director and they're not,
Okay.
and then they can appeal it, they can post bond and
Okay, I
things of
got
that nature. But
Now, can a funeral home that does not have a crematory, does not operate one, does not own one, they can still say that they do offer cremation services? Is that correct?
they can, now don't get, this is from the Funeral Service Board, gentlemen. Now, they can, if you are licensed as a funeral director, you can say you're a funeral director. If you're licensed as a crematory operator, you can say you are, so long as you're performing a service you're licensed for or legal for you to perform at your facility, you're fine.
So I'm asking this question. For a funeral home that does not own a crematory, like most funeral homes in Mississippi do not,
Right.
can they say that they do offer crematory services?
Gentlemen, what you can do is do a list of, when you bill, like you do your pre-need, it would include, you can include an amount for, in your pre-need for the cremation. You can make an arrangement with one that has a crematory.
But can you tell me yes or no that as a funeral home, anywhere in the state of Mississippi that does not operate and own a crematory, that they can advertise that they do offer cremation services? They are available.
I think they can, yes, I think they can say that the cremation services are available. They cannot say that they operate a crematory because they don't.
I'm not trying to say they operate. I'm just trying to say they do have that service available through a third party.
I think the gentleman is right.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
Jim from Washington, Mr. Bailey.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, let me go back. You say that if the spouse is not available to make the decision, then it has to be a majority of the children. Is that right?
That's right.
Well, now, you got a problem there. What if the man got one legitimate child at home and 4 or 5 on the outside? Who makes the decision then?
Well,
Do you give the kids on the outside the same opportunity to vote as a majority that you do with the one that's born during the marriage relationship?
Gentlemen, right now, let me tell you what the law is right now. It says a surviving child who is at least 18 years, one, if he's got 15 children and one runs up there, then they can dispossess the rights of the other 14.
And I'm telling you,
what this would say is a majority of the children. And gentlemen, there is a provision.
Well, I asked you whether the majority of the children, are you talking about the one at home or the one outside the home?
Well, we don't have time. When you got a body, you got to dispose of a body, and I'm sorry that we do not have time to do an heirship proceeding on a corpse because, like the story in the Bible on the 4th day, but I'm not going to go there. But the thing about it is, one thing you got to do is get the body in the ground in a reasonable manner, and we're doing the best we can. The Funeral Services Board has recommended that we try to get a majority of the children, and you have to do the best you can. And also, if there's any question, you do by
you haven't answered my question yet. The question is, can those kids who are on the outside, do they count as a part of that majority? That's what I ask you now. You going around, you're talking to a lawyer now.
Okay, you'd have to determine if paternity was established, or if it's been established, you've obviously got to or it's been determined by a court, obviously they would be included.
Now, but let me tell you what happens now. Right now, one child who pays the bill.
Maybe not.
Well, I'm telling you, most times it's one child or two child that pays the bill. The rest of them ain't gonna pay nothing, but you're giving them a right to have a decision on that. How do you resolve that?
Gentlemen,
Now,
look,
you're a funeral director.
no, let me say this.
You got a funeral home.
Okay.
You got one person gonna pay for it. You got 4 or 5 out there that ain't gonna pay nothing, and they got a right to decide what's gonna happen.
Well, it's their daddy and their mama, for one thing. But another thing is this. Most families, I disagree with you that only one pays. Most families that I know of, that's been my experience, or the funeral homes that I'm aware of, the family, if they don't, first off, a lot of people have pre-needs and have already paid for their funeral services. Then some have paid some and have insurance policies. On the other respect, the families in the majority of instances work together and come up with the funds to bury the loved one. Now, we can't have a situation, I don't think we need to have a situation that just because you got the most money that you necessarily conclude the rights of the ones that might not have the money. But in this instance, if you are a child and have been determined to be a child, then even though you've got to get the person in the ground, you will have a right, and the family will, it'll be a collegial decision of the family. First, if there's a wife, she's going to make, or he's going to make that decision. Yeah, but this only happens if you've got a situation where mama's dead or daddy's dead.
Listen now, I'm talking culturally.
Okay.
You're white.
You may not agree with the concept.
Well, I'll just tell you as a matter of fact in life, culturally there are certain things that happen, and it may apply in your situation one way, but culturally in our situation it doesn't work that way most of the time, and you're creating a legal problem that doesn't exist right now, because the one who pays is the one that they get the job done now. But if you get 4 or 5 over here, no good, ain't done nothing, then they gonna decide and have a right to decide something. We ain't got nothing but a problem. We're creating a problem in there. That's all I'm trying to get you to say. You're in the funeral home, you go ahead and do it.
Well, gentlemen, this gives rights to the family members, and it lets, if the 15 children, they're going to need to get together and decide what happens to mama and dad. It's just not going to be one child to run up there and make the decision. That's all it does on that provision. Move passage.
All right, gentleman yields the floor. Okay. Chairman wishes to be recognized.
It seems like y'all don't like this one, so I'm going to lay it on the table, subject to call.
Motion is to lay the bill on the table, subject to call. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Bill is laid on the table, subject to call. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to pass item 14 and 15 and ask that it retain its place on the calendar.
Okay, any objection? Hearing none, we'll do that. Next item.
I'd like to go to item 16, call it up, and Senate Bill number 2146, call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Please recognize the gentleman from Smith to present the bill.
Gentleman from Smith.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 2146 is what is referred to as the Uncrewed Aircraft Systems Rights and Authorities Act. The purpose of this bill is, number one, to acknowledge the FAA has the absolute authority over the safety of the airspace above land and water. However, it's to also to acknowledge that political subdivisions have the right to protect their citizens without creating any type of overburdensome regulatory environment for any commercial or purpose or industry. What this bill does, it defines what a uncrewed aircraft is. what the airspace is and what uncrewed aircraft system is. What this bill does, it allows it states that a political subdivision cannot pass any ordinance that would relate to ownership, operation, design, manufacture, testing, maintenance, things that deal with the certification of any type of uncrewed aircraft system, including what airspace a particular uncrewed aircraft system could fly, any flight paths or anything like this. What this bill does not limit is the authority of a political subdivision to adopt an ordinance that enforces any type of FAA restriction, adopt or enforce an ordinance that relates to the operation of uncrewed aircraft systems. We can adopt or enforce generally applicable ordinances that relate to nuisances, voyeurism, harassment, reckless endangerment, property damage, or any other illegal act. And Mr. Speaker, that's a explanation of the bill.
Any questions? Gentleman from Prentice, Mr. Arnold, you have a question?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman Hill.
Yes, sir.
So basically, this prohibits any kind of municipality or anything from passing any kind of ordinance affecting these unmanned aircraft. Is that right?
Well, other than what is out there right now as far as voyeurism, damage to private property or damage to public property, what a political subdivision or what the state can do, they can pass ordinances or laws dealing with the landing or taking off of unmanned aircraft on state or government land. They can do that depending on what the situation is.
But the general public can take off from their property, fly anywhere they want to without restriction other than
That's
what
correct.
the FAA
That's correct. They still have to follow the FAA regulations.
Thank you.
Gentleman from DeSoto, Mr. Hopkins, wants to do an introduction. I'm going to recognize him.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, in the North Gallery, I'd like to have everyone help welcome the South Haven High School 9th through 12th graders with teachers Sarah Roush and Sky Rhodes. Students are in Jackson for the Model United Nations and Junior Youth Assembly. Please help welcome them.
Gentleman from Lee, Mr. Aguirre, for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, we have members of the Young Bankers Association who have been here and are visiting our Capitol today. Please make them feel welcome.
Gentleman from Washington, Mr. Hines, what purpose you seek recognition? Passes. Gentleman from Scott, Mr. Miles, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In the North Gallery, I've got one of my friends and local bankers, Mr. Lee McCarty from Forest. Glad to have you today.
Gentleman from Tallahatchie, Mr. Rosebud.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentleman, will you yield?
Oh, yes, sir.
So is this bill like covering drones, drone deliveries, things like that, regulating it within communities?
Is it regulating it?
Yes, is that the purpose of it?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, it's to, number one, to give definitions to what an uncrewed aircraft system is. And for commercial purposes, if you have a, you know, if you are using it for recreational or commercial uses, the municipality or county or state or any political subdivision cannot pass an ordinance that would prevent you from using it for a commercial
Thank you, Jim.
Okay.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Crudup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The gentleman yield.
Yes, sir.
Quick question, gentlemen. So how does this affect, I guess, folks that's doing real estate photography and things like that?
It does not. Now, again, you still have to follow FAA regulations, and with what you're talking about, you know, and I don't know that much about drones other than, 400 feet and below for recreational use, and the small drones less than half a pound, you don't need certification or license or anything. But
It's my understanding for commercial purposes, the FAA requires a license to do that type of work. So it doesn't affect that in any way whatsoever, because a municipality or a political subdivision or the state cannot pass ordinances that would prevent you from doing your job as long as you're following FAA regulations.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
I don't see any further questions.
Move
Open the
final
machine,
pass.
Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2146. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 108 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to pass item number 17, Senate Bill 2382, and I ask that it retain its place on the calendar.
Okay.
And I'd like to go to item 18, Senate Bill 2379, call it up and make the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have an amendment.
You recognize.
The amendment, so this bill is revising the number of required code books to be ordered from the publisher. In section 1 of the bill, it actually talks about...
Excuse me, lady, we need a copy of your amendment.
Oh, I thought you had it.
Sorry.
Okay, so in section 1 of the bill, it just defines who gets how many sets of codes. What this amendment does is saying that the actual bound volumes of the Mississippi Code are going to be provided to each person that's in section 1, unless that person opts out. And what it will do is mirror the procedure that we have for the journals. You get the slips of paper on your desk, and if you want the journals to opt out with the Secretary of State. And so this amendment would be mirroring that procedure. The bill that came over from the Senate actually has that you opt in and then send that request to the Code Committee. This amendment would have us to opt out. And that's an explanation of the amendment, Mr. Speaker.
Any questions, gentleman from Smith, Mr. Tullis? You have a question? You have introduction? Okay. I don't see any questions. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2379. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 119 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. I'll recognize Gentleman Smith for an introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome in the North Gallery Miss Lindsay Curry. She's a young lady from Smith County, Mississippi, who's also our manager of Community Bank.
All right, next item, tourism.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to call up Senate Bill 2138 and ask for the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
Thank you. This is the Opal bill, just like the one we passed, and I'm passing this just to make sure we keep one alive, and that's my explanation of the bill.
Question? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2138. In favor of the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 119 yeas, 0 nays. Bill passes. Next item.
I'd like to call up Senate Bill 2137, ask for the usual motion.
Lady calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Ladies recognized.
I'd like to introduce the lady from Harrison to present the bill.
Lady from Harrison is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2137 would just designate each April as Mississippi Native Plant Month in order to preserve the heritage of native plants for clean air,
water, and soil stability. That's the explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2137. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 110 yeas and 5 nays, bill passes. Next item, transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item 21, Senate Bill 2002. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
We have an amendment.
You recognize.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Senate put a reverse repealer on this bill just to keep a vehicle alive in case they have some memorial highways come in late. And we didn't amend anything, so if we don't amend something on this bill, it goes to the governor with a reverse repealer in it. So we are changing the date of the effective date on it from June 30th to June 29th, and that is the amendment.
Questions on the amendment? I don't see any. If you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Now, please recognize the gentleman from Prentice to present the bill.
Gentleman from Prentice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, would you stand just for a moment, please, in honor and respect of those that have given their lives for our country and others. Senate Bill 2002 designates a section of United States Highway 45 in Lowndes County, Mississippi, as the private first-class Bradford C. Freeman Memorial Highway. Section 2 of the bill also designates the Interstate 220 North in Hinds County, Mississippi, as the Senator Douglas Anderson Memorial Highway in honor of one of our former senators. That's the explanation of the bill.
Any
Move final
questions?
passage.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2002. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 119 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item 22, Senate Bill 2559. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Move adoption and strike all.
You recognize to present the strike all.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is our repealer on the harvest permit authorization. We have just put our language in the bill.
Any questions on the strike all? I don't see any. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Anything further on the bill?
No, sir. Move adoption.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2559. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item 23, Senate Bill 2561. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
This bill changes the vote from the Transportation Commission on ERBR funds from unanimous to majority. And that's an explanation of the bill.
I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2561. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Closed machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 112 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Go to item 24, Senate Bill 2562. Call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time and placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's an identical bill to the one we passed to allow public-private partnerships to establish electric vehicle charging stations and the infrastructure for that. That's an explanation of the bill.
Any questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2562. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 110 yeas and 6 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Good item 25, Senate Bill 2569. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Move adoption, strike all.
You're recognized.
Ladies and gentlemen, this bill is our autonomous vehicles bill. We did a strike all, put the House language in. That's an explanation of the strike all.
Any questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill, Mr. Strike All. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2569. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas and 1 nay, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good item 26, Senate Bill 2588. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Please recognize the gentleman from Prentice to present the bill.
Gentleman from Prentice.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senate Bill 2588 authorizes and directs the Mississippi Department of Transportation to designate the state hospitality station located in Vicksburg, Warren County on the Mississippi River as the Commissioner Dick Hall Hospitality Station. That is the explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2588. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 115 yeas, 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good item 27, Senate Bill 2589. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When the West Rankin Parkway was established, there was some language put in there to allow local, private, or federal money to be used on it, but there were some specific earmarks required for the federal money. This removes those earmarks and allows the use of any federal funds on that parkway, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Any questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2589. You favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Mr. Good, item 28, Senate Bill 2853. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it.
Please recognize the gentleman from Benton to explain the bill.
Gentleman from Benton.
Adopt a strike all.
Yes, sir. You're recognized to explain.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the drone bill banning counties and cities of the state from purchasing of Chinese-made drones or software that is made in China. No explanation. Any questions?
Questions? Jim from Alcorn, Mr. Bain.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
Are there any type of, my sheriff's department has one of these that they spend a great deal of money on. Are there any language in here grandfathering them in?
Yeah, anything that's already purchased is not affected.
All right, thank you.
Jim from Hines, Mr. Brown.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
This may sound like a rudimentary question, but about half of the stuff we use in America is made in China. Now, why are we making a difference on this particular
Our
item?
understanding that when the drones are activated, all the information goes back to China also.
Oh, thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
Jim from DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Gentlemen, yield.
Yes, sir.
I like the intent of this bill, but do we even know if there are U.S. manufacturers of drones that don't use Chinese chips and
There
everything
are.
else? There
Yes,
are. Okay, good.
There are.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open them, excuse me, Mr. Strike All. If you favor the strike all, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2853. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas, 0 nays, the bill
Thank you, Mr.
passes.
Speaker. Transportation yields the floor.
Next item, Marine Resources. Passes. Brings us to item 33, energy. Passes. 35, workforce. Passes. 37, banking. 38, county affairs. We got a taker. You recognize, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Go to item number 38 today, Senate Bill 2312. Call it up, make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Please recognize the gentleman from Smith to present the bill.
Gentleman from Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, House Bill 2312 is a bill that provides a competitive bidding process on the lease or sale of county-owned property. What this bill does is it strictly deals with real estate belonging to a county. It ceases to be used for county purposes. The Board of Supervisors can sell, lease, or convey or exchange the real property. And before any lease, deed, or conveyance is executed, they'll publish in a newspaper in the county for 3 consecutive weeks. If there's no public newspaper in the county, then in a newspaper with general circulation. And it's to offer bids or accept bids for, or invite bids for leasing or selling. In addition, what this bill does is the board will accept bids on the property, and at the board's option, they can reject all bids or accept the highest and best bid. If the board rejects bids that are submitted, they can hold an auction to those who had submitted bids, and no bidder will receive any type of preference, and the auction will start at the highest bid that is received. If the county-owned land is in its final year of an existing lease, then during the final year of the existing lease, the board will notify the leaseholder of the board's intent to release the property after advertisements. And something that this bill does, which is I think is good for counties, if they accept bids on a new lease and they receive an acceptable bid, but they do not decide to hold an auction, the existing leaseholder can submit a bid of 105% of the highest bid. Then the board can will hold an auction for those that did submit bids. They'll start at 105% of the bid that was made by the existing leaseholder, and that would be the opening bid. If an auction is held, the auction will be conducted at the meeting at which bids are opened or at a subsequent special meeting, and notice would be given to the public and those that had submitted bids, and that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine up. There's a question. Come from Clark, Mr. Smith.
Gentlemen, I thought we changed for 105%, went 5% on this bill. We
Well,
did,
it was 5% over the. It's
but we
5% over
struck the language of 105%.
Of the highest acceptable bid
Yeah.
received.
Well, it's 5% of the highest bid, so it'd be,
That's the way it works.
yeah,
10-4, thank you.
okay. I apologize, but it'd be 5% over the highest bid, which is
All right,
105%.
I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2312. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close machine, Madam Clerk. Vote 113 yeas and 5 nays. The bill passes. Next item, universities and colleges.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to bring up Senate Bill 2486 and recognize the gentleman from Neshoba to handle the bill.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves the rules be suspended, bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye, opposed nay, the ayes have it. Gentleman from Neshoba,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have a strike all.
you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, this is our name, image, likeness bill. This is the same bill, House Bill 860, we passed a couple of weeks ago. This bill comes to us at the request of the universities. All this bill is doing is making no changes to the current code. We're just bringing forward all the code sections of the name, image, likeness in the case or in the event we get toward the end of the session and the universities see that we may need to make some changes to the name, image, likeness codes, and it does have a reverse repealer in it, and that's an explanation of the strike all, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. If you favor the strike, all indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2486. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Everyone voted. Close the machine, Madam Clerk. We'll vote 113 yeas and 2 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to bring up Senate Bill 2581 and make the usual
Chairman calls
motion.
the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2581 is the same as the House Bill 443 that we passed unanimously, and all it does is give the Commission of College Accreditation the ability to use the facilities and the people at the IHL.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2581. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. We vote 113 yeas and 5 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Item number 41 is Senate Bill 2590. Make the usual motions.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2590 is the same bill as House Bill 536. Basically, what this does is to extend a lease for Mississippi State University to open up 500 more beds for students there, and just extends that lease up to 60 years.
Questions on the bill? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2590. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 113 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Judiciary B.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would ask that we pass 42, 43, and ask that they retain their place on the calendar.
Okay, any objection? We're hearing none, we'll do that.
I'd call up item 44, Senate Bill number 2199, make the usual motion.
Chairman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and gross read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
We recognize the gentleman from Pike.
Gentleman from Pike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Senate Bill 2199 allows a prosecuting attorney to defend criminals in other counties.
Questions? I don't see any.
Move
Open
for final
machine,
passage.
Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2199. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By vote 117 yeas and 0 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
The next three, Mr. Speaker, 45, 46, 47, I would just ask that they retain their place on the calendar.
Any objection? Hearing none, we will do that. Brings us to 48, Public Utilities.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 48 and ask that it be passed and retain its place on the calendar.
Okay, any objection? Hearing none, we'll do that. Next item.
All right, go to item number 49, Senate Bill 2104, recognize the gentleman from Hancock.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Hancock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. All this is extending the repealer on the Mississippi Gulf Coast Regional Utility. Mr. Speaker, this is the explanation of the bill.
Questions? Don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2104. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 113 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Call up number 50, Senate Bill 2341. Make the usual motions.
The gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
This is the same transmission infrastructure bill that we passed through the House a couple of weeks ago. Nothing has changed from the Senate side. It's just allowing or requiring out-of-state transmission companies to follow the same guidelines that we require Mississippi-based companies to. It's the explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2341. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 109 yeas and 5 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 52, Senate Bill 2728, call it up and recognize the gentleman from Hines.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered and engrossed, read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman from Hines is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2728, an act to amend Section 25535 Mississippi Code 1972 to authorize the statewide master agreements and to authorize utilization of the information technology acquisitions made by other entities. Section 1 articulates the powers, duties, and responsibilities of the authority. Lines 118 adds telecommunications. Lines 200 to 216 establishes the guidelines and promotes the maximum use and benefit from technology services. Subsection 1 authorizes the use of master agreements. Subsection 2 authorizes the use of contracts for acquisitions and computer and telecommunications equipment. And this minimizes the duplication, reduces costs, and improves the efficiency by providing common technology services across agencies and boundaries. That's a brief description of the bill. I yield for any questions.
Questions? I'm informed you got an amendment. Did you know that?
We're passing the committee this morning.
I think that was explanation of the amendment. So if you favor the amendment, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Now on the bill. Questions on the bill. Gentleman from Lowndes, Mr. Kareem.
Gentlemen, will you yield?
Yes.
If you could you do it again, explain what does this bill do?
Well, the amendment only adds cloud services. The bill was as I described.
What does the bill do, though?
The bill, what it does, it makes it so that the Department of, hold on one second here. It makes it so that the State Department turns around and makes it where it's, let me read this stuff right here. Authorizes the utilization of information technology acquisitions made by state agencies to be more streamlined, reduce costs, and improve efficiency in providing common technology services across all agencies.
I heard you read that, but I still really don't understand what the bill
So that all
does.
agencies buy the same software over and over again.
Sir?
They buy the same software over and over again, so it's not redundant. It reduces duplications of services so that we can reduce costs.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Gentleman DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will gentlemen yield?
Yes.
So if I understand this correctly, because I had the same problem he did, I didn't quite understand what it did. It allows, if you have multiple agencies across the state, they can get one contract for all of them instead of each of them doing the bidding process separately?
Correct.
Okay, all right, thanks.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2728. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. The vote 113 yeas and 5 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With unanimous consent, and I inadvertently skipped over item number 51. I'd like to go back to the Senate Bill 2717, call it up and make a
Any
usual motion.
objection? Hearing none, we'll do that. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross red the third time placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I apologize to ladies and gentlemen of the House. I didn't know we was doing on the previous bill was the amendment over again. This bill, Senate Bill 2717, provides that the Mississippi Department of Information Technology Services, expands the enterprise security program and coordinated oversight of cybersecurity efforts. Lines 156, the Mississippi Department of Information Technology Service shall evaluate the enterprise security program. 160 incorporates nationwide best practices. 181 defines cyber attack. 185 defines ransomware. And all state agencies shall notify the Mississippi Department of Information Technology Services of any cyber attack or ransomware. That's a brief description of the bill, and I yield for any questions.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2717. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. The vote 117 yeas, 0 nays. The bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 58, Senate Bill 2433, call it up, make the usual motion, and recognize a lady from Hines.
Item 53, excuse me. Gentleman calls the bill up, moves that the rules be suspended. Bill considered in gross red the third time placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
The gentleman? You said the gentleman?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear the lady is recognized. I was looking down at my notes here. Lady, I'm sorry.
That's okay. All right. This bill would simply allow eligible homeowners associations within an eligible municipality to use well water instead of the municipal water system. Eligible municipality is defined to be limited to a municipality of greater than 100,000. Eligible homeowners association is a coveted homeowners association with restrictive covenants. And it also has to be a homeowners association that has an existing well that is capable of providing water to its residents. That is a brief explanation of the bill, Mr. Speaker.
Question. Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Lady, if you would yield.
Yes.
Is this like the bill you presented earlier on the House version?
We presented that bill in committee earlier, but it did not make it to the floor.
Right,
Yes.
so this is the Senate, same concept.
Yes.
Where the homeowner association would have to get the right of way from the city or the county, whoever they got to get it from.
That is correct.
Roads, pipelines, or whatever. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and they would have to drill their own water?
I didn't hear you, I'm sorry.
They would have to drill their own water, and somebody would have to manage this?
Well, this bill is limited in that there has to be an existing functional well already within the neighborhood. So it has to already be there.
So the well has to already be there?
That is correct.
So they can't drill a new well?
That is correct.
So how would a well already be there and operating? That's operator or not operator? I don't understand.
Yeah, if you read the bill, it has to be a groundwater well system that was originally designed to supply the subdivision, which continues to provide drinking water to a private user that is located within the subdivision.
Okay. Can you tell me some cities that would be applicable to, like maybe Jackson or Canton or other cities?
It's limited to subdivisions within the city of Jackson.
To where?
Subdivisions, eligible subdivisions within the city of Jackson.
Only in the city of Jackson?
Yes.
So this is the Jackson bill?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. All right.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Crudup.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Lady Yield,
Yes.
I just want a quick question. Who's paying for this?
The homeowners association via the homeowners.
So the city's not responsible for doing any of this?
No.
Thank you.
Gentleman from Hines, Mr. Banks, you got further questions?
Yes, sir. I forgot. Lady, since this is the Jacksonville, you know what homeowner associations want this or can use this?
I didn't. Repeat that, please.
Do you know what homeowner associations can use this provision law in Jackson? This is only.
I know of one existing homeowners association that would be able to do this. There may be others.
Which one is that?
The Country Club of Jackson.
Country Club of Jackson. All right, thank you.
All right, I don't see any further questions. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2433. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 76 yeas, 36 nays, the bill passes. Next item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to go to item number 54, call it up and make the usual motion.
Gentleman calls the bill up, moves it to rules be suspended. Bill considered and grows read the third time, placed on final passage. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Gentleman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, Senate Bill 2512 just adds two counties being able to use coronavirus funds. It adds regional sewer utilities or districts. This came from the Senate. This is something that's still moving. It does have a reverse repealer in it as we move through the appropriation process. But it would allow regional sewer utilities or districts, if it does ultimately become law, to be eligible for any remaining coronavirus funds. And that's an explanation of the bill.
Questions? I don't see any. Open the machine, Madam Clerk. Question occurs on Senate Bill 2512. If you favor the bill, vote aye. If you're opposed, vote nay. Has everyone voted? Close the machine, Madam Clerk. By a vote of 114 yeas and 4 nays, the bill passes. Public utilities yields brings us to drug policy. I guess he passes. All right, announcements, Mr. Clerk. Announcements, Madam Clerk. Oh, I'm too quick. Apparently, Rules has a calendar. I'm gonna recognize Madam Clerk to read the committee report.
Report of Committee on Rules, H.R. Number 87, Harry Aubrey Martin, commend life service and philanthropic legacy upon his passing, time sufficient to be adopted. H.R. Number 88, Roy L. Dixon Sr., commend life and legacy upon his passing, time sufficient to be adopted.
Chairman's recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, these are resolutions that need to be out before this weekend so that they may be presented to the appropriate family. You've heard what they are. Let's move adoption.
Any questions on the resolution? I don't see any. If you favor the resolutions, indicate by saying aye. Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolutions are adopted. You want immediate release?
Yes, sir.
Any objection? Hearing none, we'll do that. Announcements, Madam Clerk.
Accountability, efficiency, and transparency will meet today after adjournment in room 103. Insurance will meet 15 minutes after adjournment in 402.
Announcements by the members. Jump from the show by Mr. Bounds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I do need to hold the last item. I need item number 54 on a motion to reconsider, please.
Okay, we'll do that. Jump from Hines, Mr. Banks.
Request, Mr. Speaker, vote change on inadvertently pushed the wrong button on item number 2, House Bill 2309, change from yea to nay on that, or nay to yea, whatever I did. And also to hold the last item we just did, almost the last item, item number 53 on the motion to reconsider.
Okay. Any
Change my vote
objection to
on
the
item
vote?
52.
Any objection to the vote change? Hearing none, we'll do that. Jump from Harrison, Mr. Felcher.
Adjourned memory, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
Football coach from Biloxi, Joey Santamont, passed away after a long battle with ALS. Want to remember him and his family today.
Thank you, sir. We'll do that. Jump from Jackson, Mr. Zuber.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the House Insurance Committee will meet today 15 minutes after we adjourn.
Okay. Gentleman from Pike, Mr. Porter.
Request, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask unanimous consent to change my vote on yesterday's calendar, general calendar, item 17, Senate Bill number 2392, from yea to present.
Any objection? Change the vote. Lady from Madison, Ms. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to adjourn in memory of a constituent of mine, Sophie Morable, age 20. She passed away yesterday. Please keep her parents in your prayers, Dennis and Sherry Morable.
Thank you. Gentleman DeSoto, Mr. Eubanks.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With unanimous consent, I'd like to change my vote on item number 23, Senate Bill 2561, from yea to nay.
Any objection? Hearing none, change the gentleman's vote. Any further announcements? Gentleman from Warren, Mr. Denton.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, on your desk you will see a meet and greet for cocktails and appetizers at Martin's downtown from 6 to 9, sponsored by the AFL-CIO this evening.
Any further announcements? I don't see any. Recognize the gentleman from Octavia Hall.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I move this House stand adjourned until 9 a.m. in the morning.
Motion is to adjourn to 9 a.m. All in favor say aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. House adjourned till 9 a.m.